Okay, this is an attempt to show the spring water solar hot tub project, which basically takes spring water from down below the house, brings it up to a tank above the house, then feeds that into another tank, which is heated by the sun, and then both cold and hot are plumbed to a hot tub. Well, it's a bathtub on the side of the hill that's insulated, so I can take a nice hot tub every couple of days without electricity or any other external power source. So here's how it is. Here's what it is. Okay, so that's the house up there. I'm down below the house, and up above the house is the road, and there's actually a tank of water up there, so I can gravity feed the water down to the house. But how does it get up there? Well, it gets up there through this PEX pipe, which goes underground here across, here we are, this little logging road. Goes, that blue thing is coming from, goes, it's hard to see. It comes out of the hill here, and it's going to go underground again and goes all the way down to that little pump down there, which I'll show you. And that water is being pumped way uphill without electricity. Where's the water coming from? Well, it comes from right here. So here's where we were. It's hard to explain exactly how this looked before there was a pool, but just there where the water is coming out, you can hear it trickling down there. This is a spring that I think was exposed when this road was cut by the mules or whatever they used back then. So water is coming out through here. I've kind of obstructed the view with this Ganesh. He's just relaxing on the hillside there. But you can see the water pouring out there. And now that there's a pool, it's collecting here. It used to just run down the side of the road. It goes under a culvert there and then down and continues off down the hill. So that was put in to protect the road way back. I don't know who did that. Maybe we did. So now that I've dug this pool, I can contain this huge amount of water, and it runs off the end here. And any dirt or dust kind of settles. It doesn't look that clear right now because of the light, but it's pretty clear. And then it's about 4 feet deep, which is quite a lot of water. And any debris just kind of skims off that little edge. Okay, so that's the pool collecting the water. So now this kind of wall here to contain the pool that's against the road, there's way deep in there, there's a big pipe, and it's got a screen on it just to filter out some debris. And here it comes. Oh man, this grows fast after all the rain. And so out comes this, what is that, 2-inch? And I have, so you can see, it might be a little bit of sediment in there to clear out. But this is water from that pond up there that I could drain it out if I wanted to. But then this pipe comes down and goes toward the pump. And the water going to the pump does two things. It powers the pump, and it's also the water that I want to deliver up. And here is that pump. So the 3/4 inch pipe that comes from the pool comes in here, goes through the pump, and out the back is this 1/2 inch PEX, which is what delivers the water all the way up, way past the source pool there into the tank. And how does it work? It's very hard to explain, but once you understand it, man, it's so simple. So this is a hydraulic ram pump. You can look it up and see, how it works. Right now the pump's off, and because it had been running, starting it and getting it started is a whole other thing. But just know that since it's been running and it's off now, the delivery pipe that brings water all the way up to the tank is just sitting there full of water. And since it goes all the way up, it's like, 70 feet high up there. All the water in that hose has a pressure So basically, there's pressure on this. You know, if this were full of air, which it is, it's actually got a bicycle inner tube in there to like hold the air in. And let's just assume for now that this is closed right here. You can't get out. You can't get back that way. It's actually a one-way valve, so water can get in but not out. I'll say about that in a second. So the water that's in here is got all that gravity behind it because it's tons of it and it's going uphill. This air bladder right now has that amount of pressure on it. So it's compressed air in here because of the water connected to this. And if this were open, the water would just kind of go back up this way, but it's not. It's a one-way valve. Okay, so this is full of air. It's pressurized by the water that's in the pipe going up to the tank. Now this is water coming from the pool, which is only about, I don't know, I think it's like 10, 12 feet up. It's further that way, but just 10 straight up. And then this valve is closed, but this here is a one-way valve. I don't know if you can see, there's a little flapper in there, and it, if water starts coming up, it's gonna wanna push it up. So I'm gonna open this a little bit. You can see that water will start flowing out. Not enough pressure to close the valve. It's just gently flowing. But as soon as I open it all the way, the valve will slam closed, and all the pressure from the pool down into here, slamming that closed, will force water through this one-way valve. And then that water can't get back out. So it goes boom, pushes it in here. This air gets a little bit more compressed than it is. And instead of being able to come back out that way, it pushes the water just a little bit that way. And what that means is at the top of the, where the tank is, a little bit of water just kind of shoots out. Just a little bit. And so then after that happens, the water that's shooted through here means that this valve falls open again. And then water will come back through here, slam it closed, and another cycle happens. And it's fast. So watch, this is how the pump works. No electricity, it's just valves and air pressure. So you open it up. So all this water that's wasted, that's the water you could say that powered the pump. And I have a channel dug that just, it goes back down and joins the water that would have been running off anyway, so it kind of goes back to where it was coming from. So this, every time water slams that thing closed, it's pushing a little bit of water into here, which compresses the air. It can't get out, so it goes this way. And so with a device like this, you can slowly get lots and lots of water way uphill. And so that's what's happening. It's typically used in towns, I think, where you have a town up on a mountain and a river down below. You kind of have to have an unlimited supply of water because it wastes a lot. I mean, I think it's like 20% of the water goes uphill. But I have this spring running, and if you had a river, you just need to put the pump a little bit below the water source, and it has to be submerged in the water source so that a constant steady flow of water with some head slams into this thing and then pumps a little bit of the water up. So that's the ram pump. That's how I get the water up the hill. Okay, so here's the tank up by the road. The house is down there. You can't really see it, but that's the house. That's the roof there. And so this, here's the PEX that delivers the water up. You can hear it going in. Actually, this lid just popped open because I didn't realize how much, I just replaced this and there's a lot of weight and it pulled this thing open. But the cool thing is you can actually now see how much water's coming out. I don't know if it'll focus in there, but you can kind of see it's almost full. But there's water just kind of sliding down in there. And then this is normally, right now it probably would, it leaks out of here, unfortunately. But this is normally the overflow. Comes out and goes back all the way down to the pond. So that pond just gets filled back up when the tank's full. It's a 120-gallon tank. I've got it split off because this goes to the house where I have a hose to water plants. And this goes kind of a number of places actually. But this is one place it goes is down into here. And well, I'll show you. This is the repurposed water heater. I think it's a 50-gallon water heater that I've also wrapped with more insulation. And the cold water comes in here. Right now I've got this valve open because we just did a tub and I'm filling this back up. So from gravity, that tank over there, when I open this valve, it fills this tank with water. If I were to close this, it would stop filling. And this is, once this is filled with hot water, which I'll show how that works in a second, this is how the water is delivered down into here and through an insulated pipe down to the tub, which I'll show at the end. There's the tub. So once this is full of cold water, basically forget about this part, it's just closed. And this is open because there's basically a loop. Before I show you how that water gets heated up, just see that water can come out of here. This is where cold water will come out. It goes down towards the water heater. And the hot water comes up and goes in the top. So the idea is called a Thermo Siphon. And the cold water goes down and the hot water comes up. How does it work? Here is the solar collector that I built, which is half taken apart right now. I used to have these glass windows that I found on the top for the greenhouse effect to insulate. But I'm replacing them because I think it's just time to do a new thing. I'm going to use polycarbonate, that like kind of clear roofing stuff, and just seal it perfectly around because these were not fitting the whole thing. So from the tank, cold water goes like this. It actually goes down behind and all the way down to there. So this is where the cold water comes in actually. And there's a bunch of T's, an elbow at the end, and vertical-ish copper pipes. It's all copper. And at the top, the out is there. Comes out here and goes up. So it's cold in, down in the bottom corner, and hot out at the top corner. This thing's kind of a mess because it was just a test. I just kind of plunked it here and it worked so well that I haven't really done anything with it for a few years, but it's time to now revamp it. I might build another one. But each of these copper pipes has, this is aluminum, this fin, and I used kind of like two pieces of wood nailed to another piece of wood to make this gap, and just kind of banged a steel rod so that this aluminum would take this shape, and then like a high heat sort of caulk, I don't know if it was silicone or what, to like fill any gaps so that there's good contact, so that when the sun hits the metal aluminum part, the heat transfers to the pipe. So ideally this would be edge to edge, aluminum covering the whole thing. Another reason that I have the glass surface removed is because I'm gonna repaint this. This is all painted with a high heat black paint. I think it's barbecue paint. But you can see where it's just kind of, I think the sun has just like really done a number on it. So it's coming off and you can see it's exposed here. But if I just respray it with a couple of cans of black paint, then it'll be super absorbent. The sun will really cook it in there. And then once it's covered, it'll be insulated. It makes like a greenhouse effect. So it gets really quite warm in there and the direct sun heats those pipes up quite a bit. The idea is that the pipes have cold water in them. And when the sun hits this surface, the water absorbs the heat. And then basically the whole way that it works is that the hot water in these pipes becomes lighter. Hot water is lighter than cold water. So just by the cold water in that tank being connected, it pushes the water through. So the hot water just gets pushed up by the weight of the cold water, and the hot water enters the top of the tank and pushes down slowly. So over the course of, a full day of sun, the tank just heats from the top down. And when night falls, the hot water in the tank doesn't go anywhere because there's nowhere for it to go. It's the water in these little pipes just gets super cold, and the hot water in the tank just stays there insulated. And the next day it just kind of starts by itself. So all by itself, the water cycles through, gets hotter, and goes in from the top. So it just fills with hot water. And then at some point when the water's up to like 120, 130, can just empty it into this tub. So there's the water heater. Underground, it's plumbed to the tub. And actually, one of the other places that cold water goes is it tees off, not only goes to that tank, but it comes down to here. So I made this little faucet, and there's cold and there's hot. On the hot side, it actually is inside of like a drain pipe inside of this insulated thing, and the PEX goes right through, so it stays really hot in the pipe all the way down, and you get hot and cold going to this tub. I've caulked off this drain overflow thing, so the water fills all the way to the top and just kind of spills over the edge like an infinity pool, so you can get really deep. And the tub is insulated on the side and the bottom. It's like that rigid board insulation, and it's stuck on there with spray foam. So it actually, the metal tub is always cold when we start, and then it just heats up and stays hot for longer than you want to be in there. So that's what we do. We pump cold water up. We water the plants with it, let it into this tank. The tank just sits there getting hotter and hotter in the sun. And then when you're ready, some cold morning, misty morning after a sunny day, you just get in here, fill it with hot, hot, hot water, mix it with some coal to get it just right, and then hang out. And, you know, just on the hillside, a little cloudy today, but you can watch the birds playing around. You know, you can hear if someone's in the house playing piano, you can hear it through the windows. That happens on occasion. And so it's a solar powered spring water tub. Not hot springs, but hot spring water. And when you're done with the tub, you just let it out, and it just kind of runs down the hill, follows the trenches, and joins the other little water bars that take it where it goes. So that's the house. Way down below, down there is the spring, and down below that's the pump. Goes all the way up to the cold water tank, which feeds, actually it feeds the neighbors too. There's a water spigot down by those houses down there, and that was a fun day with the backhoe. And it also goes down to the tub for cold, and it goes to the hot tank, which then heats up with that thing when it's covered with its glass. And the hot feeds down into the tub, and the tub is now filling, and it's very hot.